get started. I know we are so social. It's really hard. It's really hard to stop conversation, which is a good thing. That's how we want it. But just a few things to start. Did you all, I don't know how many of you were at the last meeting, but did you all get the September newsletter? Did everybody get that in email? Okay. If you did not get that, please give us an updated email address for you. We want to make sure you're getting all the club news, so be sure and do that. And in that same vein, if you have shows or news, announcements, awards, we want to brag on you in the next newsletter. So please send any of that kind of information with pictures to mbaa-newsletter@gmail.com. This will be in that email, I believe. You can go back and look. And realhoneypaint@gmail.com. Those are our newsletter team, and they want to know all the news so we can brag on you. Okay, did everyone get the survey that was sent out in email this week? Okay, so I know I've gotten some of your responses. Be sure and fill that out for us. We are always going to need volunteers. We have 150 on the nose members. And so we have a thriving organization and we need lots of help. So we need to know your gifts and talents other than art, because we know you're all talented artists, but we need to know those other gifts and talents. So please fill that out if you have not, and you may have noticed on there, if you fill it out thoroughly, like if you don't fill it out and say I have no gifts, but if you fill it out with some actual answers, that counts as one of your attendances for being considered to be in the show. So that's a bonus for doing that. So please be sure to do that. And about that attendances, you know, I need to keep reminding us that that is a requirement for the show, and you know, you have to attend 2 meetings through the year, and we're considering that February, which is when registration starts, until January of the next year. So 2 meetings within that period, or fill out the survey in 1 meeting. And we do that, a lot of people, why is this a requirement? Because we don't want to be just a show organization. We want to be an art community that fosters that community and back and forth and learning, like these wonderful demos that we're going to have tonight. And so that's the reason we want to encourage that. So, and then I'm going to do this later. I'm going to let Philip or Andy talk in a minute, but please support our local art stores. They support us. They are so generous to us. We want to make a point to give back to them like they give to us. They really are needed for us, and we appreciate them. So please do support. Oh, thank you. Yes. Back to the having to attend 2 meetings. Be sure to sign in so we have a record of that. Because if we don't have a record of it, we don't know you showed up. So please sign in. I think most everybody did. It was kind of a bottleneck there for a minute. Okay, and then Delana, our membership vice president, 150 members. We have 2 new members for October, Nikki Stanford and Hannah Morris. Or Nikki or Hannah here?
I'm Hannah.
Hi Hannah, it's nice to meet you. I've emailed with you, but haven't met you. So yay.
Is she going to tell us about it?
Okay.
Tell us about herself.
This is, sorry to put you on the spot, but we traditionally have you stand and tell us what mediums you work in and a tiny bio if you want to.
Okay, I'll be brief. I'm Hannah. I am kind of new to this. I started from my best friend's daughter drowned 3 years ago.
Oh, God bless you.
We were there, my family, we all experienced it, and it kind of led me to like feel, I quit my job, which was a big business, managing big business, and I had several people say, you like really need to like express some creative stuff, and so I had multiple people, so I did, and then it turned into this like spiritual, like kind of like worship through painting. And it started out with crosses, like way too many crosses, that's a little scary. And then it's kind of morphed into just wherever the wind blows. So I'm dabbling in watercolor, but I love like a big canvas, and I love to like make messes and see what happens. But it's all spirit led, and so I just allow the Holy Spirit to do the work.
Are you on Instagram or anything?
I am.
Okay, what's your name?
It's Hannah P. Morris Art.
Hannah P. Morris. Okay.
Yeah. And I want to know all of the info, so teach me everything you know. I can, like, she can attest. I want to like hear it all.
We're so glad to have you.
Yeah.
So Nikki did not make it. Do you know her?
Yeah.
Your friends? Okay. Well, we'll be glad to meet her when she comes. And then I'm going to let Charlotte give us a brief treasurer's report.
Very brief. Very brief. The bank balance as of today is $15,329.47. Very brief.
So we're in good shape. We do have some expenditures that we're going to be, some bigger expenditures this year as we're redoing the website, and that is almost ready to give out to y'all. So I'm really excited about that. But what we're going to do, it is a subscription-based service which allows you all to have a web page, kind of one page on our site. And when that gets rolled out, we'll give you instructions how to do that. But it is a subscription-based service, but they have offered it as a one-time larger fee where you won't have to pay. It's a lifetime membership basically going forward. And if any of y'all have subscription services, you know they go up and up and up all the time. So we have the money right now, and as a board, we voted to go ahead and pay that lifetime membership so we won't have to be hit with that every year. So anyway, really excited about that, and we're just in really good shape as a club, and I thank you all, thank everybody who has just filled in this year for the show and volunteered, and we've got a really wonderful potential slate of officers forming. We're still working on that, trying to recruit for a couple of those spots, but just really excited about where the club is and all of you, so yay. And then I'm gonna let Andy tell us a little bit about their classes and pass out some things.
Hi, I'm Andy from Four Star Art, and I recognize many faces in here. I'm going to leave y'all some classes and workshop flyers. Also, I want to say, if there's ever a teacher that you're interested in taking a class from, please let us know, and we'll bring them in. We do a lot of local teachers, regional, but we bring in teachers from all over the country. So if there's like a national artist that you want to learn from, let us know, and we'll try and make it happen. Also, right here is our sip-in shop. It's the Saturday before Thanksgiving. I hope you can attend. We're gonna have gumbo, beer and wine. We're gonna do raffle giveaways. It's our customer appreciation event. So I hope y'all can come. Also, just a reminder, y'all get 25% off all retail art supplies in this store. So when you come in, just remind us that you're a Mountain Brook Art Association member.
Did not know that. Why did I not know that?
Yeah, so we do a 25%
That is awesome.
discount on retail art supplies for our MBAA members. We also keep our canvases and brushes on a heavy discount, and we do like other sales, and we give out samples. So we really want to support y'all in your endeavors.
What are the hours of the sip-in shop? I'm putting it in my calendar.
So it's November 23rd, 11 to 3. And we'll have giveaway raffles on the hour. We'll be giving away canvases, paint, brushes. We'll have food and drinks all day. And we'll also have several sales reps and a couple local artists demoing different products in the store too. That's another thing that I want to remind y'all about. We have a demo station. We have probably like a couple $1,000s worth of product that you can come in anytime during open hours and play with and try. So you can try a new medium before you buy it. and we just ask them, if you try
See,
it.
this is why you shop local instead of buying on Amazon,
Yeah.
because you can't do that.
Yeah. So I
You
just
go in and you try it, and you support our local economy by doing that too. So-
Where are you located?
So we're
Downtown.
downtown on 20th Street North, in between 2nd and 3rd Avenue North. We do have a parking lot. We have a free parking lot behind our building. We do have classes during the weekdays, so it tends to get a little full on weekdays. But if you Saturdays, it's like the whole parking lot is for y'all. Also, just a reminder, we do custom framing. So if you need pieces framed pieces sell better. Is there anything else, Philip?
For the sip and shop, we're trying to figure out what the discounts are gonna be, and we're not quite there yet because we want to make it really easy on us. So what we're gonna do is we're going to give, like a gift card. You spend $100, we're gonna give you a gift card, and you can use it there on the spot, or you can take it home, and the more you spend, the more the discount's gonna be. And we're just trying to figure it out because we have a new POS system, a point of sale, and canvas is on sale at 50% off. You buy $100, you're gonna get another discount. Same with everything through the store. We're just gonna make it super simple for us and for you.
So, okay, just to recap, 25% discount retail items, free parking behind our building off of 3rd Avenue North, sip and shop November 23rd. And please, if you have teacher recommendations, I would love to get them because I'm always looking for new teachers, but y'all know people you want to learn from, so.
Yay. Thank you. Can I just take those and?
Yeah, if you want to take one and pass it around, yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
Said that, you're welcome to come in and try the free, try out new things.
Yes.
But then you were about to say, we just asked.
Well, what I ask, if you try it and see it in the store, you buy it in the store.
Okay.
Because a lot of people will come in and try it and then they'll go buy it on Amazon, which it hurts, and it's like, I understand that there is our product that's cheaper on Amazon, and I get it. You want to get the best deal. Something to think about, sometimes the Amazon product is different than what is in our store. The same arch paper block that's on Amazon could be a different quality. You don't know, because the sailors, they don't have the relationships with the distributors that we do. So,
Got it, okay.
yeah,
Well, I think y'all are very competitive.
Yeah.
I mean,
we try to be.
We are.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Good job, Andy.
The gumbo's delicious.
Everybody's it's gonna be cold by that time, and we're gonna be, right?
Yeah.
We're all gonna be ready for gumbo. Okay, I think that's everything. Does anybody have any questions or announcements before we start? No? Martha? Let's have a program.
Okay, y'all, we kind of had to wing things. So bear with us when we came in. It was kind of crazy, but I want to welcome everybody here. Glad y'all are here. And like she said, if you didn't sign the list out there, you need to sign it because we're also doing door prizes in just a little bit. So,
That's another reason.
yeah, so I'm going to talk about Nancy real quick just because we want to get on with things. And Nancy, if y'all don't know her work, well, you can look here and see how fabulous it is. She's excellent at watercolor. I mean, one of the best in this state, if not the country, because she's won many awards. I'm going to tell you about that. She's a signature member. Hang on, glasses. Get there.
Like
She's
me.
a signature member of the Watercolor Society of Alabama and North Carolina. And her paintings have been juried into multiple national exhibitions. And her recent awards include Davison Patron Award in the 83rd National Exhibit in 2024. And the second place in the Watercolor Society of North Carolina in 23. And the Georgia Watercolor Society Reciprocal Award in the WSA, which is the Watercolor Society of Alabama, 82nd National Exhibition. She's got a long to go on her website. There's a list of awards, and I mean, she's just incredible. I can't go on enough. She taught and created fine art and murals for 30 plus years, and she paints in watercolor primarily in acrylic in a realistic style, and she enjoys painting people, nature, and wildlife. She resides in Wilsonville on a farm and is constantly inspired by the simple beauty around her. I also understand, do I, that you're president-elect of the Watercolor Society of Alabama. So y'all welcome Nancy.
Thank you, Mom. It's such a pleasure to be here, and I'm very honored because there are so many, y'all are have so many wonderful artists here. So you make me a little nervous, so I'll try to remember everything I'm supposed to say. First, I know you want to know primarily my process, and so what I did was I put together a time lapse because I don't paint anything really fast. And I would put you all.
That makes me feel better.
Extremely slow. A fast painting for me is anything under 20 hours. So it can be very boring. So what Martha said about my inspiration, my biggest inspiration truly is the outdoors, and everything that our God has built and made for us is absolutely the best artist around. And so I'm constantly being inspired by the light hitting trees, the reflections in the water. It seems that it doesn't matter how important something is, that when the light hits it, it suddenly becomes the most important thing there. And so I enjoy hiking and trails, and when we lived in North Carolina, we literally were very blessed to live within 5 minutes of about 3 different lakes with trails that went all around them. So I was constantly, if I wasn't painting when we were hiking, I was taking mental notes, and I loved being there. My husband retired. We moved back to Wilsonville, which was where I grew up on a farm, and both of my parents are gone, and I inherited part of the farm. And so my husband built trails for us because that was the one thing we missed when we left North Carolina. So in the last few years, he's built 2.5 miles of trails, and they go up and down this one little stream that literally is dry at the moment. So it's not a very big stream. It's probably 12 feet at the widest part, and maybe 3 feet deep or 4 feet deep at the deepest part when we've had massive rains. But it constantly is an inspiration. So in the last few years, I have done a couple of paintings of it, and I'll just show you real quick. This one, and I'll turn it around. This is one particular spot on the creek that the light was hitting, just absolutely gorgeous, and I took photos. And this is actually a print. The original was on sale at the show when it sold. So, but that one is I named On the Bank of Hope because it just had such an uplifting feel to me. And so when I started trying to put together something to show y'all, I thought, what can I paint relatively quickly? So I decided on another photograph that I took while we were hiking along that one side and down. And this was actually in like February. So the cool months, the trees, they just seemed to glow in the background. The trees, the reflections, and everything was what caught my attention. And because it was such a cool time of year, there is tons of mossy banks along the little creek, and so when it's really gray and overcast, it just glows. That's the only word I can say for it, and it is just gorgeous. So I have thousands of photographs. So that's where the inspiration came, and I entitled it Waiting on Spring. So before I start this, I wanted to tell you 2 things. PowerPoint and a little bit about my materials. I use primarily Arches cold press, and I also love Fabriano Artistico, which is an excellent 100% cotton paper. And I've used nothing but tube paint. I use M. Graham Daniel Smith is a big favorite of mine. Windsor and Newton. So those are primarily, I do have tubes of others in my bag, but, and a lot of brushes, I've tried everything. It depends on what I'm doing as to what brushes I like. But that's just a little bit about that, and my process is I prefer my paper to be stretched, meaning I hold it under the water, I wet both sides of it completely. I mean, shake it wet, shake it out, and then I apply it, I put it onto a board like this, and staple it while it's wet, and then I set it aside to dry. And so it literally may dry overnight. No sound. Hang on. Okay. Yeah. There it is.
I begin my painting on Arch's 140-pound cold-pressed watercolor paper that has been stretched and stapled to a board. For the first wash of the sky, the painting needs to be on a slight angle. I have a 3-inch foam board placed at the top under my board. This allows gravity to help blend my colors. After applying a clear water wash to the sky area, I will lay in a cobalt blue wash to the upper one half of the sky. Directly below it, I will quickly add in a wash of Quinn Rose and let them mix. As the blue and pink blend, I drop in Aurelian yellow into the tree line. While the tree line is still wet, I drop in areas of Paraline Maroon also. While the tree line is still wet, I drop in a darker shade of quinacridone gold at the top edge of the Paraline Maroon, letting it blend, still wet into wet. While the upper part of the painting is still wet, I use a thirsty brush and remove the color from the tree trunk areas because they will have a highlight and I wanted that to be left. Next, I work my way down the painting, adding pale washes of Aurelian yellow into the areas that I know will be the lightest. As I continue painting down the right side of the creek, I add a mixture of green and then drop in some browns, which consist of the Paraline Maroon. I will also go back and re-emphasize the color with the Paraline Maroon across the horizon line in the back. I continue to adjust and deepen some of the values of the greens on both sides of the creek. After I have wet the stream area with a clear water wash, I will lay in a pale lavender wash in the upper right portion of the stream. While it is wet, I will also dot into place some muted gray greens, which I have mixed, allowing them to blend into each other, and then slowly into a pale lavender blue, followed by a deeper blue toward the bottom of the stream. While the creek area is still damp, I start to apply the dark greens along the left-hand side, which will create some depth in the banks.
Nancy, what size brush is that? Do you know? It's the big one.
I don't know the number. It is a cat's tongue, and I would guess around 6 or somewhere.
Okay.
Is it a cat's tail? Cat's tail. Cat's tail.
And what size is the paper?
This size. Is it, I think half a sheet.
Okay.
Up until this point, I had not dried the paper at all. I had just been carefully painting from one area to another.
Watercolors dry approximately 40% lighter than they appear when they are wet. Due to this, I decided to reapply the same colors in my background tree line. I wanted them to have the vibrancy of the golds to shine through. I simply re-wet the areas and dropped in the various colors.
Did you do a value study before you started?
I do, but even when I do, I always end up reapplying because I just think they end up a little stronger. It's just my way of doing it. I mean, it is hard to get them.
Do you ever use Masket?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And I didn't, thank you, that was one of the things on my PowerPoint that I forgot. I do, but there's very tiny amounts on this, and it's just on the edge.
Okay.
And I do use a ruling brush, a ruling pin with it.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking
You know
about.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's, there is a very small amount on that. I can
Okay.
show you what it's at.
Okay.
What is that?
It's a liquid mask. You put it on liquid dry paper. You put it on first and let it dry, and then it repels your paint. So when you're done, you can take it off.
And it leaves a white spot. Yeah.
I'm like rubber
Yeah,
stamp.
it just leaves a really hard edge, so I would
Yeah.
try to use
How do you take it off?
you can use
Just
your
rub it
finger.
with a
There's
finger.
Thing that picks up. I've got one of those.
Yeah.
This is what I use. It's like rubber goes down. It's a pickup. But your finger works. Basket paint works.
Do you ever use a hair dryer to speed up your drying time?
I do. In fact, I brought my heat gun.
Okay.
This in between, I don't think I stopped hardly any to dry.
At this point, I am adding darker values along the creek edge. I am adjusting the temperature and value as I create more depth.
I usually try to work from one area while one area is dry and I work on another. Yeah. But every now and then I'll stop dry a little bit.
In this painting, I am using only transparent watercolors. The darks are completely mixed from other transparent colors, nothing straight from the tube. I also do not use white. All the whites that you see will be saved paper.
I wish I could paint that fast.
I know.
It may seem slow to y'all, but it doesn't.
Do you paint
It doesn't.
music?
I do. And mostly instrumental. Like I live.
Where do you find your music?
Pandora. I listen to Chris Bodie. Body, whatever you want to say his last name. Smooth jazz.
Yeah.
Just depends on what mood I'm in. There's a few, the only mask that's on there right now is a couple places on the tree trunks. One edge that you can't even see in here, so everything else is just dry paper. One thing in my defense, I have an easel that is a convertible, and so I had it completely flat and then tried to video it. I had to stand to one side, so everything I'm painting is awkward, there's lots of things, so it's not quite my normal, like, that's not a good direction, but I'm learning, hey.
So that dark green is really dark. What
Yeah,
do you
it
remember
is.
the mix for that?
I think I used a phthalo and some quinacridone and then played with it back and forth with some ultramarine. And I'm usually mixing my colors as I go, so, you know, hopefully I remember the right things to tell you.
Mix most of your rooms.
Oh, yeah. I use sap green occasionally, but even then I end up changing it. I'll add something to it.
Do you use white paint?
No, ma'am, not if I can help it.
Is that not allowed within the watercolor societies? I thought it was frowned down.
No, a lot of people do, and I'm okay with that. I just kind of think that, for me, it tends to make it more muddy or opaque when you add whites, so I avoid them.
Sure does.
Now, I invite y'all to check out the Watercolor Society. We have an upcoming online show. It will be the next one, so you don't have to frame it or anything, and the perspectives will be posted, I think.
Here I am going back and softening edges with clear water and then adding color in to create a softer and more blended edge. I am also adding another layer of color to the reflected shadows in the water. These are added wet onto dry.
So there's just an awful lot of layering, layer
For
upon
me, there
layer.
is,
Yeah.
yes, that's, I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing things in 1 or 2 layers. It's just that I'm usually not happy when I only do 1 or 2, so. long as you dry it well in between, usually you don't have any problem mixing things. Of course, there are exceptions, but I can't think of one at the moment.
You get your brush too wet and you pick up paint and mix it back in.
Most of the time, if it's dry
doesn't-
completely and it's good paper, you won't have that problem.
I see the really detailed pencil drawing. Do you
Yes.
follow that, or that's just kind of for remember? Because it doesn't look like you're painting it.
Well, yeah, I don't follow it exactly. It's a kind of a road map. I even do
That's-
that with my portraits. It's
Here,
mainly
I'm
just help
adding
me.
a dark shadow from the base
Okay,
over
that's
the
what I
water.
So as far as your thought process while you're doing this, is it making decisions based on the photo?
Some are, some aren't. I usually pick photos that have the look that I want. If it's a terrible photo, I struggle to make it be a good painting, so. I'm very much a visual. I have to get it in my head where I'm going.
Do you quit looking at the photo at a certain point? I mean, wait towards the
Not
end?
as much,
Not as
yeah,
much,
it
but-
depends on how realistic I want it to be,
Okay.
quite honestly. Like this one, I was okay with a looser, whatever you call it, version of it. But had I been trying to do a really very photorealistic, I would have been looking at every inch of it.
Okay.
And looking at where the changes went and how the colors shifted and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Now I am starting to add the base color into the tree trunks.
You're not really painting as fast as it looks like you are. I have to keep telling myself that, wow, she's painting fast.
4 times faster, roughly.
Well,
I was just gonna ask you what the speed was.
And cut out all the thought process, like when I'm mixing,
Right.
I cut that out.
That's what I always tell people, with my commissions especially, probably, I don't know, maybe 80% is thinking.
Thinking, yes.
And 20% is actually putting the paint on the paper.
Yeah, I totally understand that.
That makes sense.
Does anybody else have the thought that everything looks horrible at some point and you want to toss in the towel? Well, trust me, with watercolor, you have to just keep telling yourself, it is going to get better.
Yeah. I completely agree.
Because it really will, but it takes it getting to the end.
But if you're painting in plein air, this is when people walk up.
Yes.
Absolutely. And you want to go.
But they always go, oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
How long do you paint at one sitting?
I usually try to do it at least 2 to 3 hours. Sometimes I get going and it might be 4 and I don't realize it,
And then your hand is like.
I have to make myself stop and walk around.
Right. Hand her back.
Do you have a studio schedule, like you paint every day at certain times, or just whenever
No, I
it
wish
hits
I
you?
could say I was that disciplined, but I'm not. I might
Is anybody in here that disappointed? I just want to know if you have a set amount of time that you paint every day. I wish.
This is gonna make me want to go get the watercolor.
I know, me too. It's been a while.
Is your studio in your home?
Yes and no. I have my easel where I paint primarily watercolors, yes, and then we have a little house next door that's also ours, and I have a studio in it too. So I cut maps and do things in it, but I moved my easel to in our house so I can paint to wee hours in the morning and do that.
Get up at 1 a.m. and go paint, and then go back to
I
bed.
rarely get up at 1, but now I might still be painting from 10 to 1.
Do you do your own painting?
No, I will do cut my own maps occasionally, but not enough.
What kind of lighting do you use?
That's a good point, I should have said that. I have actually 2 art lights that I paint with all the time, and that are like gooseneck, and then just general overhead fluorescent.
Is there a color temperature?
Not in the, I did put the fluorescent to daylight. I think it's daylight setting. It's the one that adjusts.
Kelvin. It's about 5,000
Okay.
Kelvin.
Yeah.
Go over here,
And then the hot light, of course, is
I've heard
daylight.
that that's
Yeah.
the best.
Is that mask the weight?
No, actually, that is another limb that's in this side, and it is a lighter brown, and I wanted to save it, so I just painted around it.
Oh, but you didn't mask it.
I didn't mask it.
That's good. That's good.
I know.
How did you get the iridescent texture on the tree trunk on the right? You know how that's the stippling? Do you know?
On the far,
It's
on
still
the big
wet.
one on the right,
Uh-huh.
it
It's
dropped
just
in
wet?
2 different colors in wet, wet,
Oh,
and
okay.
wet. And just let them kind of do their thing, and that's one of those cases that I think they're just beautiful.
Mhm.
I may cover it up, but I like it at that point.
Next, you will see me darken the tree trunks on the right with another wash of warm gray. All of the trees' left sides are being touched by the evening sun, so I will adjust the colors accordingly.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, it's green.
Is that the arches? That is arches.
Here, I am warming the sunlit bank on the right by adding a wash of yellow, followed by a touch of Quin Gold. Time now to darken and add a little more texture to the closest tree on the right. You will see me add a reddish color to the left edge of the tree trunk. As it dries, it will lighten and it will help capture the warm reflected light.
And there I'm just lifting out some of the color that's there, and then I'm replacing it with the color that I want, which is like a red.
The mossy bank on the right will start to take shape as I adjust the edges and darken some values. Here I am adding the small trunks and limbs of trees in the background with a pale gray wash using a small pointed round brush.
Okay, let's.
Starting today.
Those are the ones I came
You
in
would
with.
know, I think this is watercolor. She's an actual watercolorist.
I've had it so long, I think it might have come from Cheap Joe's years ago, probably 20 years. I would turn I'm gonna put my palette on here. One of the things, I would let y'all take a quick look at my palette. This is what my palette looked like when I literally stopped the part that you saw, and I haven't completely wiped it off, and I usually don't until I'm through. Yeah. The reason I don't clean it is because I'm not finished with the painting yet, so I want to keep using some of the same mixtures, and like I said, I mix usually as I go, so I could probably come back very close to it, but it's just much simpler to keep going where you are.
Is it a porcelain, plastic?
It is actually a plastic one, and it's kind of been through the mill. It's really old, and I
Love that
have.
you've got your colors around the edge.
I do. I write them because I change up for different projects, and I actually have multiple palettes. I can't seem to settle on just one. I have a different one for portraits. I have a different one for landscapes.
Did I hear you write the names around there?
I did. There, yeah.
Why? Because I do that and I feel so stupid.
Oh no, because then I can't remember now. Was that Antwerp blue or was that ultramarine?
She does it, right?
Yeah, y'all are great. So one of the first things that looking at this, because I work in steps, I'll step back and I'll let it dry, and then the next day I'll say okay, or whenever. And I think things that I like, things that I don't like, things I want to adjust, and then I go from there. And in this case, I really am not happy that I didn't get it dark enough. And I kind of rearranged the reflections, actually, you see the brown, the green, well, y'all can't see. Try it this way, y'all, sorry. The greens that are through here are very gray, gray greens, and this actually is the lavender that I did the underwash at the beginning. And so looking at the reference, I really want that to be a little stronger, and I really, really like the way the darkness is at the bottom. So because this is such a big area, I'm going to go back and do a wash and darken my sky, reflected sky in the creek. And because it is large, I want to do that first so that it can be drying while I work on some other little tweaky things like the foreground and the trees and changing up. So that's where we are. So first thing I'm going to do is mix, go back and mix, I think I used cobalt, so I'm going to mix a nice puddle of it, and I'm going to probably add some ultramarine into it because it will take it a little deeper than the cobalt. So
Tweak this a little bit.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay.
You do what you need to do.
All right.
We want to see the bottom of that paper if we can.
Oh, okay. I can slide it up.
Good. I don't want you to have to.
No,
Here we go.
I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm okay.
There's some things on the bottom.
So in order to keep this really smooth transition from color to color, that is strictly working on an angle again and having clear water that you apply your colors to. So the first thing I'm going to do is go back and go all over this whole little section. And I do want to keep some of the whites through here, so I'm everywhere with watercolor. If you put the water, that's where it goes. If you leave it dry, it just sits there. It acts as a great barrier, so funny. And because that's so big, let's try this something a little bigger. Okay. And with watercolor, if you sometimes have to get at an angle to see what you wet and what you haven't.
You can turn that a little bit.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, even if it were vertical and I do work, once I'm to this point in my paintings, after I do the first few layers, big washes, I will have it on my easel, not completely vertical, but just a slight angle.
I wondered about that when you said you worked on an easel. I've never done a watercolor.
A lot of watercolor artists do not, and that's okay. I did it because
my desk does tilt. So.
Yeah, I think you do need a tilted surface. How much? I don't recommend starting out with a real extreme tilt for beginners, but I've been doing it for quite a few years now, so we'll go with that.
So, are you not touching? Did you not touch the dark edge to the left with the water? I'm surprised that's not.
I did. It doesn't go. It won't go anywhere once it's dried.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So actually, you're going to see me go all over it.
Now, when you pulled out that tree trunk again, I guess our far right.
Mm-hmm. This part?
Yeah, you went in and if it doesn't reconstitute, did you?
I lifted it while it's still wet. Yeah, while it's still wet, you can come back in with what I call a thirsty brush, and that is basically the brush has been wet completely, it's not sopping. You blot it so that you take out primarily all of the moisture, or what you think you can. Then you go back across it, and when you do that, at that point, it will pick up pigment.
So that was still wet?
Right, so
Okay.
that's still wet. But once it's been dried completely, you'd have to scruff it a little bit to get it to lift. And then there's certain colors that are more staining that really still won't lift. They'll leave it. So you see how this is settling nicely, coming down because I'm busy talking? I'm going to come back in with, I want some more of a lavender through here. And that's going, up in there is going to get darkened a little more too, so I'm gonna put a little more higher in.
I was about to
Oh,
say,
what happened?
is that battery?
Is the battery going?
Should have been.
I don't know.
Where's the phone?
Where's the phone?
Oh, is it?
Oh.
Duh. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to work those phones. So.
It's like when you're like, oh, I can't find
Just-
And you're on it.
Yes.
Yep, I know
Whose
that.
phone is it? Oh, okay. You got plenty of battery?
That's probably the problem.
Oh, it is.
Hang on. Do you have a C charger? I've got a. I have this. If you have the.
I've got a charger.
Okay. Oh, it's got plenty of charge.
Okay, so it's not that.
Where's Madison?
The screen must have. It may have just decided the time out. Or did it disconnect?
You're welcome to come up and watch if you want. It doesn't bother me.
Hold you at it. I mean, narrate.
Yeah. There you go.
Did we do airplane?
May I have your attention, please? The library will be closing.
That might be the problem.
Yeah, that.
If you have a ticket to check out,
Did they
please
turn the
leave
Wi-Fi?
them main
Probably.
desk on the first floor at the time. I have a joke. Why don't ghosts take showers? Because they only like blue baths.
Oh, well.
Do you know how it was connected? Was it connected?
Airplay.
Yeah. They probably turned it off. Martha's gone to check. You just keep talking. We'll. If anybody wants to get up and come.
Yeah, seriously, if you want to stand up here, it's fine with me.
Yeah.
That's okay. You probably see a lot more.
Just don't bump the table.
Yeah, it wouldn't bother me. Didn't hurt.
You were so good.
Yeah.
I'm videoing it. I can go watch the video later. And this will all be on video too. Is that okay?
Yeah.
No, it's not okay.
Too late.
Yeah.
Love it. I'm gonna go through all your Wednesday tips. You'll be like, oh, that's good. I'll know. You have one? I do. I do some work. I don't do no bathroom breaks for you.
Yeah, see what happens?
The time you leave here. It's his phone. He's got his phone.
I think we can all stand.
I told everybody to get up and go.
It's the judge.
Oh, you should have maybe 90% charge.
Does it make you nervous to paint with us?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. There's no way I could do that.
We'll see.
Just standing here.
If you notice, mine really faint, the pencil lines are now gone. Actually, I've just got to give it some time to soak in. It's a little too wet to get what I'm trying to do at the moment. But in the meantime, I can show you something else. This is a rosemary scrubber from Rosemary and Company.
Y'all hold it down just a little, she's.
And it's great for lifting areas that you want to take out the color. So there's a piece in here that this is going actually to get some green put in because that is part of the bank. The creek turns at this point that you can't see in the photo, but because I've been there so many times, I know. And so I'm trying to go back when I started it, I somehow decided I didn't want to do that, but I didn't put it where you could see it well enough, so I'm gonna come back with a little more definition on that thing. And then this pink, it should be the lightest color in here. I did it purposely more pink because I know I can go back with a muted color on top of it. And so what I'm going to do is lift out a little. And I usually, when I'm working, I usually have a piece of paper towel in one hand at all the time. And what that does is just give me somewhere to control the amount of water that's on my brush.
Otherwise it goes on your shirt and your pants.
Yeah. So I do. Through here, I'm going to lift out, and I just wet with clean water, and I'm going to see if I can pull back a little bit more of that pink that is through here. And you can wet it, and then you lightly lift up. And so like this, the little ripples that are in the stream, that we'll be doing, yeah.
You just gotta talk to it.
Okay, talk to it.
Now we got it. That's
Tell
good.
it, tell it.
Okay.
That's called a scrubber. I don't have one of those. Scrubber brush?
Yeah, it's scrubber. They have different names. Joe's calls them Fitch scrubbers, and they come in all different sizes.
What company makes them?
This one is really soft, and it's from Rosemary.
A Fitch? Could you cut a brush and do the same thing, or?
Yes, you can take, in fact, a lot of people do that. They'll take them. What would she say? That's funny. Another Halloween trick. That's what happens when I throw them. Go flying. Take out. This wasn't wet enough, and I was trying to not. I'm just going to
Y'all hold it down so we can listen.
It's okay. Okay. I think that's better now. I can come back.
What is that? It's the reflection of you.
Yeah, like here coming down into the water.
Do you have a point where you decide when you think you're finished, or do you stop yourself or say?
No, I usually figure when I get my criteria is if I set it up and live with it for a day or two, and I don't see anything else that just jumps out at me, so to speak, when I walk by it, then I consider it's finished. Sometimes they go fast to that point, and sometimes they may sit there for several days till I finally figure out what's bugging me.
Okay.
So have you always been a watercolorist, or have you played, have you also painted in other mediums before you?
Yeah, I did work in acrylic a lot when I was doing mural work. And So those are my two primary things.
How long have you been painting or have been an artist?
Well, I graduated with an art degree in '81, so I guess we could go for that.
You majored in art.
Interior design and art, and so I worked a bunch of years as in the design field as a decorator, and so yeah, I wasn't actively painting during that time.
Second thing. I know it. The wall is. I've seen a better day.
The really deep darks you've done in that fire painting, that's all.
It's all
Just
transparent watercolor.
combination of mixes and.
Yes, Lauren McCracken, if you're familiar with his work, I actually used his recipe for black, which is all transparent. And if you're not familiar with his work, you should look him up. He's amazing. Lauren, Laurin, McCracken. He's a professor. Used to be, I guess he's retired, I don't know. But amazing watercolors. Yeah, no, good. Didn't realize that was you. Oh, nice to see you. Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay. Let's see, I need to put in some more, but I want this to dry a little more. So while the water's drying, I'm gonna move over into this tree. And in the tree, I do like the detail that's on the side of it. So this, even though this is beautiful, I'm going to probably lift out even more through here and make this edge a little bit lighter, adjust it. This, that is the funny looking stick I cleaned up the edge with this scrubber, and then I'm going to go back in and put in some color in that one. And in here, it's actually dark with a little tiny line around it, so it probably needs to dry just a little bit more.
Does the scrubber not mar the surface?
This is like a sable, so it's really, really soft.
So it's just very
And as long as you wet it and then you just lightly move, you're okay. There are some scrubbers that are very rough, so you don't want to do that.
On the first floor at this time.
Okay, because that with some darks. Whoever asks about when a painting's done, to me it's what you're happy with, and like this is definitely a lot looser and not as detailed as a lot of my things. So, I could probably say it's done, when I put the last reflections in and just not worry about it. But,
Do you have multiple paintings going on at the same time?
sometimes, most of the time, I'm too ADD. I want to finish it, so I only do one at a time for the most part. I get very focused when I paint. That's when I said it tends to, like, I might paint 4 hours, not realize it's been 4 hours. Or I get on a roll and I paint 3 days in a row, almost nonstop. I'll try to do this a little faster than my normal. But with watercolor, the more you add tiny little layers and let it dry between it, that's how you build up texture. You can't expect to get a realistic looking texture just by 1 or 2 washes. It just doesn't really, it's not convincing, let's put it that way. Now this stick is kind of brown at the bottom, so I'm going to pick up a little bit of, did I add water to that? I didn't. A little bit of gold.
Do you get any buckle in your paper?
When you stretch it and
It's bad.
when it's state, you don't get any.
Okay.
And that's my number one
Yeah, that's
reason
why
for
you
doing
did
it,
it.
yes.
Yeah.
I personally don't see how people paint without doing it.
Yeah.
But it is possible if you only paint small washes in small areas at a time.
Well, I've learned I'll spray the back of mine
Uh-huh.
and then put it in a book. And it
And that'll flatten it?
It flattens it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Small painting.
No.
For a book?
Well, yeah.
Big book?
Well, I do have some big books. My
Yeah.
art history books are big. Oh, no, I'm not that big.
Way down with books on all the corners.
Well, no, you put paper. You can put paper. And then, can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
Do you, like I've heard some, I don't seal mine, but I know some people that watercolor seal. Do you do any of that?
I don't seal them. Oh, well, I say I should. Everything 90% of mine is never sealed. I have started painting on aquaboard, which those I am sealing. It's a completely different animal, so to speak. The watercolor behaves differently on it. It has a lot of good qualities. It lifts quickly. If you put a dark color in and you don't like it, you literally can lift it back to the pure white of the board.
Wow.
Which is a huge help in watercolor, because watercolor, the reason you gotta think your whole process through
That's right.
is because you know, if you don't wanna use white, you're back to, square one. So, that's a good thing, but then it has negatives, like when you're trying to build up skin tones, if you get too much water, that it will lift the layer under it, like you were talking about, you thought this was gonna do that. It really will also very easily, so you gotta dry it, really well and build slowly. So, huh?
How large does aquaboard come?
They come fairly large. I don't know what the actual dimension is, but probably close to this. I think 11 by 14 I've done one is the largest I've done on aquaboard so far, but they do make larger pieces.
So then you don't use glass, you just seal it?
Yeah, you don't, once it's dry, you can use a spray varnish that, and then you don't have to.
Have you used,
Put
300 I use that and that's like the best ever.
Yeah, 300 you don't have to stretch. I just don't like mine to move at all, so even if I use 300, I usually still stretch it. Yeah.
Wow.
It really depends on,
Are you buying individual sheets or are you tearing them off the block?
I usually buy individual sheets. I do have some blocks, but for the most part, I buy sheets.
Do you ever use hot press?
I have. It's great for really detailed things.
I wonder, what did you do that one on? That one is super detailed.
I honestly don't remember.
Fair enough.
Yeah, sorry.
Or the big one over there, that's very detailed.
That one was, that is, I think, a cold press, but that was an elephant size watercolor paper. Okay, that's their, all right, let me look at my list here. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. All right, some of the, I want to have some detail in the foreground, but not a lot, so you want a little bit of texture. So I'm going to come back in with some darker, kind of negative painting, so to speak, and try to pull in some little things through here, and just leave a little bit of occasional leaves. And then this is where it gets where you can start really being picky, and I don't want to be picky, but I want to give the illusion of a little bit of grass and some unusual plants down in here, so. And I did that pretty thing and I'm messing it up, but I didn't want that hard of an edge there, so if you blot lightly, without it, it won't completely take it away and it won't be as harsh.
No, but that's why it's getting cold in here, the door's locked open.
Just a little reminder, everyone, Kentuck is this weekend.
Ah. Is anyone in it here?
That's Amy Amy Collins just left because she had to go set up her.
Sarah Heckler just left a few minutes ago because she has to be up at 5 tomorrow to get on the test.
Wow.
Fran Bostic and Jenny Cash are also in it. And, a few other people who I can't remember.
Yeah, for
It's in a
those,
different-
someone just asked about that, they didn't know, but that used to be a folk art show, and now they accept the rest of us.
So nice of them.
300 artists, something like that?
Kay Jacoby's in it this year as well. Should be a good show.
Yellow Leaf Creek by any chance?
No, it's even smaller than that.
Is it?
I think it runs into Yellow Leaf, doesn't it?
Yellow Leaf Creek is is that
It
near
runs
Yellow
in the
Leaf?
4 Mile Creek. And 4 Mile, I think, runs in the Yellow Leaf right before the Coosa.
Y'all, this is my husband, if you haven't figured that out. This is Robert. And he was my model for the fire painting. He was such a sport. I bet I took 300 photos that night.
You wanna pass these?
Huh?
Here's your brother.
Oh, yeah, and while I'm trying to paint, I'll try to talk a little too. This one, the fire painting that you see over there was inspired by this one. This is my son, our son, and was kneeling in front of a fire. So this was my first attempt at a fire. And I learned a lot with this painting. There were things I didn't like, so when I started to do the other painting, this really helped me figure out how I wanted to do those.
And that's all transparent watercolor?
All
There's
transparent.
no lines. That's amazing.
I do drawings, so yes. Yeah, you're welcome to that. And I have a few prints that, just photos of some of
There's
the,
some on the table.
on the table that, of animals that I've done also, so you're welcome to look at any of it. This gentleman down here is called Forged in Fire, and it actually got in the Transparent Watercolor Society this year. So that's my biggest accomplishment.
Forged in Fire in
Where is this located?
That was Wekiva Springs, and Kelly Park. Our son got married there in this past February. And so we were down and we did this wonderful kayaking trip that was just, oh my gosh, the most wonderful experience. So the original of that was in our national show, and it sold. So that's all.
Is it the same size?
No, it's a full
I
sheet.
figured it was bigger.
Yeah, it's a full sheet.
Because the detail is so crisp in this print.
It's a lot bigger.
We just went there about a month
Did you?
ago.
Oh, I could go back in a
It's
heartbeat.
so beautiful.
It was absolutely gorgeous. It is hard to describe, but it was like, I left there with so many photographs and I was like, I gotta paint this.
Yeah.
It was first thing, you know.
Oh, I can see that.
This in the background is just a lot of brambles and briars and things that the light was coming through. So I'll just kind of stick those back and forth. There's mask on this edge of the tree there. I'm gonna hit it all with a hairdryer and then put in the darks in the foreground and see how I'm doing time-wise. You hit the hairdryer. I'm gonna take it away and then I'll bring it back.
A heat gun?
It is a heat gun, and, yeah. We'll do an ad for it.
I love it.
What it does, as long as you keep it moving, and I've got it on a low setting, it's just so much quieter than my hairdryer.
Yeah.
And when you're up at
Probably
night,
quicker
like,
too, isn't it?
You're not disturbing the whole family.
Right. Hopefully. I also wear headphones.
Poor hubbies.
Yeah.
So pretty.
All right. Now we can go back. All right, so now that the water is dry, I can come back in with some of the darker part. Get a petal going here. That's fine. Move it. Is that better? Yeah. That's good.
Sorry.
No, I'm happy with that. It's much better on my nerves. Had I not stopped to be able to work on this tonight, I would have probably continued with this wash straight on down the entire length. But I didn't. So we're gonna do the best I can to match it. And I'm gonna blend that back in.
No.
Oh, I did
There it goes. It's on.
What'd you do?
Bumped the cord, it went away.
Where's everybody gonna be able to look at that?
Rich colors in those darks. It's amazing.
What's so good is you can adjust them. I mean, if they're not dark enough, you can go in or you can add, which is always makes it a lot more fun.
It looks like you're doing soft edges on those reflections too, is that right? Or a variation?
A variation, yeah.
Let's see.
How large was the picture of your son on the bottom?
That was part of the problem. It was literally taken on my older phone, which didn't have enough definition when I tried to enlarge it. So I could not get a clear picture of him. And the more I worked from it, the more I realized how important that was. So that's why the whole idea, he was just home and wasn't going to be back for like a month, and I wanted to do something for a show that I was trying to get a deadline. So I asked Robert, I said, he said, we could recreate it. So I said, okay. So then my whole brain gets to going. So I take 300 pictures of all different poses and the smokes in his fire, and I'm not used to using my Nikon, so I was doing terrible. And I finally start getting what I'm looking for, and I'm thinking we're through, just about, and then the moon comes up behind him.
Yeah.
So you know how that went.
Oh, yeah. 300 more.
You charge by the hour, right?
Yeah, that was the first and last.
That was your
Yeah,
career.
no more modeling.
Oh, it's spectacular. It's just amazing. It's like you're gonna step out of the picture.
That's funny, I've heard there's a real wonderful pastel artist named Luana Laconi Winter. Do you know her?
I know her.
Okay. Well, she talks about models, and she says men are not good models because they don't want to sit there they're impatient.
Yeah.
She said women are good models because they're just like, I can sit down.
Yeah. No,
of course you weren't sitting, so.
Luana was a judge for the North Carolina Watercolor Show in 2016.
Okay.
And I had a painting in it, and it won first place, given by her.
Well,
so the fact that you said, I'm like, you know her.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah.
She is incredible.
Yeah, and she's such a sweet lady.
She is so
She
generous
so nice.
with her knowledge. Yeah.
Very, very much so. The biggest compliments I think I've ever gotten were from her. So
That's amazing.
she was just, amazing. So that's cool. That's just cool. I made my day.
You don't have a print of that painting, do you?
I didn't bring one, no. It is called Hello Again.
It's on the website.
Yeah, it is on my
What
website.
is your website address?
It's nancypaden.com.
Okay, that's easy.
And I have some cards up here somewhere if anybody wants it. It has my Instagram page on there and my website, so. Okay.
Yeah, tortoise.
Yeah, my Instagram is Tortoise Feathers Studio.
Cool.
Tortoise Feathers Studio. Alright, I just pulled off that white on that edge from the mask. I think that's the only place I put it, honestly. I'm going to go back with this little brush and soften the edges, because that's the issue with using mask is it leaves such a hard edge that you really, it's hard to get rid of. And I still don't like this edge here, so I'm going to put in a little bit more dark there. I don't know why that white dot was there, but we'll get rid of it. A few more squiggles and call it done. The squiggles are something that I literally could just keep going on. Not like that, so we're just gonna take them out.
Is it a landscape? The one that
It is a sort of landscape. It's a box turtle.
Okay.
And that was one of my hiking trips.
Oh, I see it.
The one on the log.
No, yeah, that's Hello Again. Yeah. Now, the one that you're thinking of this year that has another turtle, because I like turtles, is Hello Old Friend. Now, this in here, it really should go a little more.
So, do you have any tips on using a ruling pen? I've tried to use it like 3 or 4 times unsuccessfully.
I'll be happy to show you.
Really?
Yeah, I want to see. I don't even know what it is.
Oh, okay.
Are you talking about is it one of those?
Oh,
okay, I've got that.
Yeah, you find them
I
in
didn't know that's what it was called.
architectural drawing.
And they
Yes.
really make the tiniest, finest lines.
Yes,
Yes,
I've
if you
used
can
it. And I
use
didn't know what it was
it.
called.
You know how.
You just didn't know what it was
I
called?
didn't know what it was called.
Okay, I don't know, this needs a tad more. I would fiddle it to death probably, and I don't need to, so. But I can show you, one thing I found when doing the moss that I can kind of wet it and then drop in and let it do its own thing kind of, and then that made the prettiest moss. Any
Your
other?
value scale is really, really good.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's really good.
Well, thank you, I appreciate
That's
that.
the biggest struggle is value, so.
It's such a strong composition.
Yeah, that's what I mean, it's,
Well, watercolor is hard to get, and I have, I'm like y'all. I'm constantly working on things that I think I need to work on, that I think I'm not doing what I could do. And I'm probably doing too much here. All right, so if I did a lot of these little busy things, and then I want to just for future, when this is completely dry, there's a thing that even my most detailed paintings, I'll come back, once I'm done adjusting values and everything else, when it's completely dry, I will come back with a clear water wash over the entire thing, even the dark. Now, the only one that I did not do that with is the fire one, because that background I did like Lauren McCracken's, and it is done basically keeping a wet edge and a scrumble thing with his mixed black, and you don't stop from the time you start till the time you finish, basically. So the background was, the black was like one of the last things I did. But other things, I come back in with a really soft brush, clean water, and I literally will just do a whole wash over everything very gently,
What does
very
that
soft.
do?
What it does is it just lets it softens just slightly all the tough, sharp edges. And I'll do it through here just to show you. You know, you want to do it like you're doing a controlled wash. And when you do that, it just takes the edge off of it, and it just, it really just do it. Now, I'm not going to do the water because I just painted it and it's still not wet. But this, I can go ahead and do that. So, this down here is still wet, so I won't touch it. But even the water, once it's dried, I could come back over it with a clear wash, and it will just give you a little nice soft edge to it.
Can you talk about your brushes for just a second? What?
Yeah, I have everything from really cheap brushes. This is a Master's Touch from Hobby Lobby.
Oh, okay.
To really expensive brushes. I have like these. This is silver black velvet, and they're very nice. Sables are wonderful because of the softness and control. These are, this is a Series 7 Winsor Newton, prized possessions. I would have all of them if I could. But there's certain jobs that, like anything else, that you don't really want the real expensive ones for. There's things I want to lift, and you don't want to use a good brush. So I have some synthetics. I have some Escodas that I really like. I have a Versatile, I think, which may be wrong, but this one I use a lot.
Rosemary brushes?
Just this little guy, the lifter, was gifted to me, and I love it. So yes, I probably will try theirs. Just haven't yet. So I have Princeton knots. This is one of my favorite, but it's not that expensive. I have another bigger Princeton that holds a lot of water in it, and it's wonderful for doing big washes because it holds a lot in the body, so you don't have to keep reloading your brush. So that's one of my things. So, any other questions?
Wonderful. That's great.